Hi, I'm Raquel from the blog Out of the Past, and I'm here with a huge Warner Archive haul. So recently, the WB shop closed down, and before they did, they had a massive 4 for $44 sale. It was the last one they were going to have. Everyone jumped in, ordered a bunch of stuff. I ordered 32 different titles on that first sale, and then when they closed the shop at the end of March, I ordered a few sets that I didn't have. So the 4 for $44 sale was really great because they were $11 per disc, but then I also got a special coupon code that I found online. Somebody had sent it to me, I think on Twitter or Facebook, and it counted for another 15% off. So a lot of these discs I got for $9, which is really great. The WB shop doesn't exist at the moment, but you can find a lot of Warner Archive titles on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Best Buy, Deep Discount, TCM Shop. They're still available in a lot of places, but this deal was only going to last for a little while. So I ended up ordering 32 different single discs. Some of them had one movie, some of them didn't, some of them had more movies. So I ordered 32 that first time. It took like well over a month for me to get those discs as my order was so big and there were so many other orders that I was competing with. And then at the end of March, I ordered a few sets with the 15% discount, which was still active. That came first, and it was a long time waiting for the main part of my order, but I'm so glad it arrived, and I've been looking forward to sharing my haul with you guys. Okay, I have a lot of discs to get through, so I'm gonna go through them in themes so they kind of have some cohesion in the way I present them, and I'll just explain why I was interested in purchasing the movie and not too much about the movie, otherwise it's going to be a very long video. So the first theme is film noir, and I have here The Narrow Margin, which is a great film noir set on a train, and it stars Charles McGraw, Marie Windsor, Jacqueline White. Fantastic, especially if you love The Lady Vanishes. This is like somewhat similar in the fact that there's a train involved, and but this is a lot darker, so I highly recommend this one. And the next one has two movies on the same disc. The first is Act of Violence, which stars Van Heflin, Robert Ryan, Janet Leigh, Mary Astor. I've never seen this one, but the reason I actually got this disc is for Mystery Street, which is a 1950 film noir starring my birthday twin, Ricardo Montalban. And it's set in Massachusetts, and I'm from Massachusetts, so that was really appealing to me. Also, it was one of like the early productions to actually happen in Massachusetts. There was on-location shooting, and it's also an early forensic science themed movie. You know, all those forensic science TV shows that we love. You know, this is like an early example of how forensic science was used in a film to kind of show how a mystery was solved. So that's really interesting. I really love that movie. And then the next one is also the same thing. It has two film noirs on one disc. And the first one is Illegal, starring Edward G. Robinson. I've never seen that one, but I love Edward G. Robinson, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then this one I didn't actually own a copy of, but I love this movie and I've written about it. It's The Big Steal, starring Robert Mitchum and Jane Greer. This is sort of a follow-up to Out of the Past from 1947, although they couldn't really have a sequel to that because of what happens in the movie. So really, it was just a way for Howard Hughes to like pair them together again, and it's kind of a really interesting film noir set in Mexico. And it's really cool to see them together again. It has Ramon Navarro too, so I had to pick that one up. And then going on the Robert Mitchum theme, I got two Robert Mitchum, Jane Russell movies. These are the only two movies that they made together. His Kind of Woman and Macau. And His Kind of Woman, they're both film noirs. His Kind of Woman is is a very convoluted story thanks to Howard Hughes's meddling. It's an RKO film, but stylistically it's really great. Robert Mitchum and Jane Russell are really good in it, and Vincent Price is in it, and he's really good. It's just the plot kind of goes in different directions, but it's really fun to watch. And Macau is like an exotic film noir. I think that Robert Mitchum and Jane Russell play off even better together on this one. And this one's actually really interesting. The special features includes TCM private screenings, which is Robert Osborne's interview with both of them. And this was like one of Robert Mitchum's final interviews, not the final one, but one of them. And it's a really interesting interview because Robert Mitchum was very, very difficult to interview, and he was at the end of his life, and Jane Russell, they were lifelong friends after working together. So it's really great to see two friends, and she really helps him during the interview. But that's like one of the most interesting star interviews that I've ever seen. So it's really cool that now I own it and don't have to like search online to see if I can find it. Okay, the next three films are really important African American films. And the first one is an all-black musical, Cabin in the Sky, with Ethel Waters and Lena Horne. This is really fantastic. I highly recommend this one. I got to write an article about Lena Horne, and she's super, super interesting. And this was a really great role for her because it wasn't just like one or two musical segments in a film. It was like a substantial character and a great way to really launch her acting career. So this was really great. And then there's Bright Road, which is one of those like dramas where a teacher takes on like a wayward student and mentors him and helps him. And the teacher is Dorothy Dandridge right here. And then Harry Belafonte in his very, very first movie. And then this came out in 1953, and then in 1954, they starred in Carmen Jones together. So this is just a really interesting film. It's very heartfelt, and it's cool to see both of those stars in kind of at the beginning of their careers. And the next one, I'm probably going to get some hate for what I'm going to say, is Intruder in the Dust. I think, personally, just my opinion, I think it's better than To Kill a Mockingbird. So this is based off of a William Faulkner novel. And it's about a black man who lives in a small southern town, and he's accused of murder. And the man is played by Juan Hernandez, who's a fantastic actor. Wish he was in more films. And then you have Claude Jarman Jr., who's like the young person in the film who's just like trying to process everything and trying to make sense. And it's a really interesting exploration of race and the South, small town, lynch mobs, the whole mob mentality. It's really, really interesting. I think it's highly underrated. So I highly recommend this one. Not to say that To Kill a Mockingbird is bad. It is absolutely amazing. It's a classic. The movie is really fantastic. I personally think this is better. So the next films are ones that I researched for articles, and they came to mean a lot to me, and I just wanted to make sure I had physical copies of them so I can enjoy them for future years. And the first one is The Boy with Green Hair. This is an RKO film. I did an article on Dean Stockwell, the star, and I had no knowledge of this movie when I was researching him, and I watched it. And I really thought it was going to be something silly, and ended up being a very tender anti-war film. He's like a war orphan whose hair just suddenly turns green, and it's symbolic. And this has Robert Ryan in it and Pat O'Brien, and it's just a really, really great film. It's very underrated. And then this one, I did an article for the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and I wrote about environmental themed films. And this one, Wind Across the Everglades, which stars Christopher Plummer and Burl Ives, is like impossible to find. This is the only way you'll get access to this film is through this Warner Archive DVD. And it stars Christopher Plummer plays an ornithologist who travels to the Everglades to help preserve the rare birds that live there. And then Burl Ives is like a rare bird poacher. So they kind of go head to head. It's really interesting. And Gypsy Rose Lee is in it. And also it's by Bud Schulberg. It's interesting. I've heard some bad reviews. I only got to see clips of it, but because I invested so much time researching, I knew I had to actually own it. And then this one, Sylvia Scarlett. This is not like the best film ever, but this is like a favorite of mine. I really love it. Stars Katharine Hepburn. It's from 1935. And Katharine Hepburn plays the daughter of this man who's kind of on the run, and she has to dress like a man in order to go incognito with him. And there's lots of things that happen because of that. So this is like a really, I wrote about this for DVD Netflix for Pride Month, and I don't know, I have a special connection with this film. It's just really great, and it's really one of those interesting early movies that explore gender and sexuality. And then the next two are super fun. They're kind of, they're great ways if you want to just like time travel to the past when airplane travel was glamorous, when you dressed up to go on a plane and it was a big production. And the first one of those films is The VIPs, which has like the best cast: Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Louis Jourdan, Orson Welles with like this really strange nose prosthetic, Rod Taylor, Maggie Smith. It's just a great cast. And it's about all of these travelers who are stuck at this airport and then stuck at this hotel because fog sets in, and they can't fly from London to New York. They have to wait. And then all of them have different reasons for traveling. And then all of their, problems kind of come to a head. So it's just, I actually showed it to my husband the other day. This is the one that actually I have open because we watched it like as soon as I got the box. I've seen it multiple times, but my husband had never seen it. He liked it. And this one I haven't seen in a very long time, but this is great fun. Come Fly With Me, which has Dolores Hart, Pamela Tiffin, Carl Malden, isn't it? I love Carl Malden. And it's about 3 flight attendants and their travails as, working in the business, and then the 3 men that they meet and fall in love with. And it has the title song with Frank Sinatra, Come Fly With Me, which is really fantastic. This is a lot of fun. And then, if you know me, you know that I'm always buying copies of Bachelor Mother. So I figured I'd get one more copy just in case, because this is such a good deal for $9. So this one, if you don't know, this is my absolute favorite film of all time. It's about a shop girl who finds an orphan child and kind of gets stuck with it in a way. And it's got great Christmas and New Year's scenes, stars David Niven too. And one of the things I do is I buy extra copies of this movie to give away to friends as like a goodwill thing. So I had to get another copy. And you guys, it's not like I needed another copy. I already have a bunch of them. And these are just my extras to give away to friends. I personally have 2 viewing copies that I keep. I should probably keep a third just because it's my favorite movie of all time. I have a blog post all about like my journey in like discovering this movie, recording it, losing that recording, then panicking, and then buying copies over time and then giving them away to friends. It's just a fun quirk that I do. And another movie that is a favorite of mine and also getting a lot of love these days, and rightly so, is Dear Heart. And I think this is from 1964. And it's a really fun sex comedy with Glenn Ford and Geraldine Page, and Angela Lansbury's in it. And it's like, she has a fantastic part in it. And it takes place at a hotel during a convention for postmasters. It's like, there's some quirks to it, and It's definitely kind of like a fun sex comedy in the time of the 60s when those were really popular with like Pillow Talk and other films. So I highly recommend this one if you haven't seen it yet. And the next ones I have are complete blind buys. These are ones that I have never seen before. I had a lot of fun and just picked some extra ones that I figured I'll give them a shot. And there was something that appealed to me about them. So this one, The First 100 Years, stars Robert Montgomery and Virginia Bruce. They are two of my favorites, so that made sense. And what year is this from? This is from 1938. And this is about two career people who are in a marriage, and their career trajectories are adding conflict to their relationship. And the plot kind of reminded me of Ex-Lady, which is like one of my favorite Bette Davis movies. It's a great pre-code that has like a strong feminist message, even though it kind of goes in the conventional direction you would expect. But for the majority of it, it's quite feminist. And I was like, I wonder how this would treat something like a similar dynamic. So I'm trying that one out. Plus, I love the cover. It's really fantastic. I would have this as a poster. And the next one is Night Court, and this one stars Anita Page, Walter Houston, Louis Stone, and I love all three of them. It's Anita Page right there, and it's a courtroom drama. I've never heard of this film. I think I've heard of the name before, but I've actually don't know much about it, and it's an MGM movie, so I decided to pick it up, and I kind of like this cover too. Sometimes it's for the aesthetic, but usually it's for the content. So the next one, this cover really drew me, The Man Who Dared, and I have never heard of this movie. This one hardly has anybody of note, but I thought it was interesting because it involves like an explosion and then the aftermath, and is like how the local political corruption kind of throws the investigation off. I think that's what it's about. Also great cover, but total blind buy, thought I'd try it out. And then the next one is my last blind buy for DVDs. Well, actually, some of the other ones are blind buys too. This is Mr. Rico, starring Dean Martin, and this is like during the time when he was making the Matt Helm movies. But this is not a Matt Helm movie. He's a lawyer in San Francisco, and he represents a guy who's accused of killing a cop, and then the guy is let go, and then more cop killings happen. So that's pretty much the premise of it. Like to see what happens. And I love Dean Martin. He's one of my favorites. And this is like crime thrillers set in the 70s are like one of my favorite like subgenres. So I'm super interested in this one. And this is kind of a loner. I didn't, it's not a blind buy, but I haven't seen it in a while, and it just suits my interest, and I love the cast, which is Marlowe. And this is James Garner playing Philip Marlowe, which is the famous detective character from the Raymond Chandler novels. And this one is based off of The Little Sister. And Raymond Chandler's character, Philip Marlowe, was played by like Humphrey Bogart and Robert Mitchum. And it's interesting to see James Garner approach that character. Bruce Lee's in this for a hot minute. Rita Moreno, Carol O'Connor. It's got a really good cast. So there you go, Marlowe. It's not a good film, but I kind of like it anyway, just because of the cast, the detective angle, and James Garner, especially in the time period. So before I move on to the other movies that I got, I just wanted to show you something I got from the Container Store. This is actually how I store my DVDs and Blu-rays, is in these mesh stacking bins. I have a couple here. The only downside to these is they warp. Like, see, this one is warped pretty bad. But if you're diligent about it, you can pop them back in. They fit Blu-rays and DVDs just amazingly, and I love how they stack like this. They stack very easily, and the handles are really great, so I can stack them like on a shelf or in a cabinet and just kind of slide them across. So what I do is I alphabetize all my single movie DVDs and Blu-rays alphabetically, and then all the sets are kept separately. But yeah, they just like, well, this one's not fitting very well because the plastic's kind of catching on, but they fit movies really, really well. So if you're looking for media storage solutions, I highly recommend looking these up, these mesh stacking bins from the Container Store. They're really good. Okay, the next three movies are ones that are just absolutely bonkers. The first one is The Last of Sheila. This is just a really interesting murder mystery. It stars James Coburn, and his wife Sheila was killed in a hit and run. So he gathers up all the people he thinks are suspects or knew something about how she died onto his boat, and they go on a cruise, and he does like this sort of murder mystery game, or like this game where everyone has to find out information about the other person, but protect their own secrets, and everyone has a really serious secret. And it's got a great cast like Richard Benjamin, James Mason, Raquel Welch, Diane Cannon. James Coburn isn't in it enough. That's my only complaint about it. But it is just a really interesting movie. Kind of takes some twists and turns. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but it just made a huge impression on me. So I got that one. And then a film that is just like insane is Madam Satan. This is an early Cecil B. DeMille film. It's one of his early talkies, and this is just nuts. This is absolutely insane. It's so it stars Kate Johnson as this woman whose husband is cheating on her, and so she throws this masquerade where she dresses as Madam Satan, and she throws it on like a Zeppelin. And there's like, everyone's in like bizarre costumes, there's weird dance numbers, something happens to the Zeppelin and they all have to like, you know, jump out, and it's just fun. It's like Art Deco craziness. And early Cecil B. DeMille is very spicy, I just have to say. So if you kind of know his like later films, try to explore his earlier ones because they're super interesting. But this one is just absolutely wild, and it makes me smile just thinking about it. And another movie that makes me smile just thinking about it is The Long, Long Trailer. This is Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and they're a married couple. He's a traveling salesman, and she insists on traveling with him. So they get a trailer, and from the moment they get married and go shopping for that trailer, hilarity ensues. Things start to snowball and get out of control, and I laugh so hard watching this movie. It is just absolutely hilarious. And it's like, okay, maybe you watch Nomadland and you want something funny about somebody who lives out of their vehicle. This might be a good a good film to watch after that. And also there's a movie coming out starring Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem about Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. I won't tell you how I feel about that casting. It's interesting. But hey, you know, this movie is kind of sort of relevant now. So there's that. I love this movie. Highly recommend. And then I have two films here that star Daryl Hickman, who I will link down below. I actually interviewed him at the TCM Classic Film Festival, and I have his interview on this channel. Just to warn you, the camera like zoomed way too close into his face, and I was also very nervous, so it's not the best interview. But I also have him being interviewed, I believe by Leonard Maltin, also on this channel about one of these movies. So I highly recommend you go and check both of those videos out. And the first one is Jackass Mail. Yes, Jackass Mail. If you haven't heard of this movie, it's okay. I don't know anybody who knows this movie. So I joked with my friend Laura of Laura's Miscellaneous Musings that my Warner Archive order was so delayed because they were making like the sole copy of this movie. So the thing is, like, okay, it's got a silly name, but it's like the most heartwarming Western I've ever seen. And it stars Wallace Beery and Marjorie Main. And Daryl Hickman plays this young boy who takes a liking to Wallace Beery, but then something happens to his father and it gets a little complicated. So this film is not available anywhere, like anywhere. This is the only way you're going to watch it other than it being on TCM once in a while. So give this one a shot. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but Beery and Maine play off each other really well, and then Daryl Hickman is so adorable in this, so highly recommended. And then Tea and Sympathy. When I talked to Daryl Hickman, he said this really saved his acting career because he was much older, and so this really gave his the second leg of his career a boost. And this is Tea and Sympathy, starring Deborah Carr and John Carr, and it's directed by Vincent Minnelli. It was based on a play about a young gay man at a prep school, and he's being bullied by the other kids, and the housemaster's wife takes a shining to him and tries to help him. They had to kind of change the sexuality aspect of it a bit in order to be released in the 1950s. So it's interesting to see what they do with it. It's still a great film, though. I do highly recommend it. And then the next three are my only Blu-rays, the only Blu-rays I got. And the reason I only got 3 Blu-rays is because I was very particular about making sure I got films that I really wanted. And there weren't too many Blu-rays that I didn't either already own, either on DVD or Blu-ray, or that I wanted to take a chance on blind buys. But I did do one film I knew of and then 2 blind buys. And the first one is The Big Parade, which is a fantastic war film from 1925. It's about World War I, and it stars John Gilbert. And this has, so I was looking at the special features. It has audio commentary by Jeffrey Vance with director King Vidor, and he died in '82. So this must have happened around maybe the 70s or the 80s. I thought that was super interesting. And then it has a vintage short, a 1925 studio tour at MGM. So between this being restored on Blu-ray, the commentary, the vignette, the studio tour, it sounded like something I really had to own. So I'm really glad I have this one. And this is one of the great early war films, so must see. And the next 2 Blu-rays are blind buys. The first one is The Mystery of the Wax Museum, which I've heard so many good things about. It's a 2-strip Technicolor early horror film, and it has Fay Wray, who everyone knows from King Kong, Glenda Farrell, Frank McHugh, who I love, and I heard it's super creepy, really interesting, visually very appealing, and looks really great on Blu-ray. So I had to pick this one up. And I know a lot of people who did the Warner Archive sale and didn't have this also picked it up. And then to celebrate Jane Russell's 100th anniversary, which is coming up in June, I decided to buy another one of her films. This is Underwater. This is an RKO film that takes place off the coast of Cuba, and I think they're on a treasure hunt. I don't know much about it, but it's filmed in Super Scope and Technicolor. It sounded really interesting, and that it could be just a fun watch. I'm not going to take it too seriously, but could be really something fun and interesting to watch. So that's another, and it could look really good on Blu-ray too. So that's my other Blu-ray buy. Okay, now on to the sets. So the first 2 sets are Glenda Farrell sets. See if you see here, I love this cover especially. This I had to get because I love Joan Blondell. I don't know much about Glenda Farrell, but I have seen a few of her films, and I love the era that she worked in, so it makes sense, and Joan Blondell is one of my favorite people. This has Traveling Sales Lady and Miss Pacific Fleet, if I said that right. The next one is a triple feature, has The Law in Her Hands, Here Comes Carter, and Dance Charlie Dance. And then the next one is the Falcon Mystery Movie Collection Volume 1. Now I had Volume 2, and I borrowed Volume 1 from my friend, so I have seen all of the movies. But I meant to get volume 1, but I hadn't, so I figured this is my chance. And this is actually this wasn't a 4 for 44 title. This was one I purchased in that last buy that I did at the very end of March. Just wanted to make sure I completed any collection that I had working, or plugged any holes in my collection before it was too late. So this one is, it stars George Sanders in a bunch of like fun, fluffy murder mysteries and just like mysteries in general. And he's like a sophisticated sleuth. So he's in the first 4 films. This has 7 films, and this one has, how many does this has 7 and this has 6. So he's in the first 4 films, and I think at one point he just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. So he passed it along to his brother, Tom Conway. And if you know who Tom Conway is, he looks almost exactly like his brother, George Sanders, and they have like the same voice. So it's like, they're not twins, but they just look and sound very similar. So it just kind of is a natural progression, and it was a great way to kind of give his younger brother some work. So in The Falcon's Brother, which is the 4th film, you actually see them both in the same movie, and he's passing on the torch. So that's really fun. The Tom Conway movies are not as good as the George Sanders ones, but these are all just fun, fluffy mysteries, and they're good, what I like to call rainy day mysteries, like just ones you watch for fun. And then the next 2 are, this one actually was part of the 4 for 44 sale. The next 2 are like music themed. So this one is Vitaphone Varieties, Volume 3, 1928 to 1929. This is a mix of musical shorts and comedy shorts. And I have another Vitaphone Variety set. I don't have all of them. I think there are 3. I'm not sure if there are more. I think I have the first one, although I couldn't find it to show in this video. But 1928 to 1929 is an era that really interests me because it's that pivotal transition from silent to sound film. And I got to meet Ron Hutchinson, who co-founded the Vitaphone Project, who RIP, he passed away a few years ago. He was really essential in getting a lot of these Vitaphone shorts restored. And sometimes, in some cases, they were lost, and he was able to find them, to like, canvas collectors, and then have UCLA restore them. It was a fantastic project. So a lot of these shorts are thanks to the work of the Vitaphone Project. So definitely had to get this one. And the next one is kind of a blind buy, but I love this type of music. Warner Brothers, big band, jazz, and swing. I love all 3 of those musical genres, so totally makes sense. And then you got Mario Lanza and Cab Calloway on the cover, so it's sold. So this has 63 theatrical shorts and all musical numbers. Or music numbers, I should say, not musicals, because musical numbers to me, I think of like song and dances. These are just song. So it has 6 discs, lots and lots of musical shorts. And this one was not part of the 4 for 44 sale, so it was the second purchase that I made just to grab things before I couldn't anymore. And I say that because like they're still available, and Warner Archive is releasing films throughout the year of 2021, but beyond that, we're not sure what's going to happen, and they haven't been very vocal about what's going on over there. So, and I got all of these on discount, and I probably won't be able to get this kind of discount ever again. So I just really tried to make an investment and get things that really I thought were interesting or could be very useful, or just appeal to me. And then the last 2 sets are Forbidden Hollywood 8 and Forbidden Hollywood 10. Now these are the only Forbidden Hollywoods that I didn't have. So there are 10 in total. And see, these are the other ones here. So the first 3, which I can show you here, these were released by TCM as part of their TCM archive collection. And then after the 3rd one, you can see, I'll show you a little closer, TCM archives. And then after the 3rd one, Warner Archive took it on, and they weren't in these these cases, which are really, you know, the sleeve and the kind of this presentation, which is really nice. So they came in just this, like sets like this, and then you would just flip different discs. So not as nice as the first packaging, but hey, these were like pre-code films, and a lot of us who love classic movies and who are Warner Archive customers love pre-codes, so it just made sense to keep collecting them. So I have, so those were the first three. I have 4. I have, where's 5? 5. Robert Stanwyck there. 6. I hated when they did this type of cover. I didn't really care for that, but I really want the movie. So, and Ex-Lady I talked about earlier. That's in this one here, 7. And then I had 9. So it just made sense to get 8 and 10. So I had all 10. They stopped at 10. So this is number 8 here, and it has Blonde Crazy, which is what the cover is here, with James Cagney and Joe Blondell, 2 of my favorite people. Strangers May Kiss, which is a film I really enjoy. Hi Nellie and Dark Hazard, which I haven't seen either of those. So this one I got, and then this is the last one. They announced after this one they wouldn't make any more. Forbidden Hollywood, Volume 10 with Guilty Hands, The Mouthpiece, Secrets of the French Police, The Match King, and Ever in My Heart. So I'm glad that I'm able to complete my Forbidden Hollywood collection with these. So that's all. That's the first order was 32 different discs, and the second order was 4. So that was quite a haul, probably my biggest haul ever. I don't tend to buy in bulk like this, but this was the last chance to get a really good deal on these movies, and I don't know what the life of this is going to be, so I just really try to make an investment in these movies that either I just wanted to try out or meant a lot to me. And I hope you really like this Warner Archive haul. And if you got some Warner Archive titles from their 4 for $44 sale, please leave me a comment below and let me know what you got. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.